So Hunter Biden recently sat down with Andrew Callaghan of Channel 5 for a 3-hour interview that, if you're interested in this kind of thing, I honestly really implore you to watch the whole thing because it's pretty fascinating, and for someone who has been so heavily talked about in the American and even global media for the past 4 or 5 years, we really haven't heard anything from Hunter himself. He's been this kind of boogeyman, fail son, criminal mastermind with a laptop. I mean, you guys probably know a lot of the lore, a lot of the rumors, a lot of the media noise about him. And it was just really interesting to hear from his own perspective about these scandals, about his addiction, his sobriety, his relationship with his father, his view of the modern Democratic Party, and what happened with his father kind of being pushed out for Kamala in the last election. And even, love or hate Joe Biden, love or hate Hunter Biden, I just think it's a fascinating interview, even on a human level, especially when he's talking about his battles with addiction, the death of his brother, the death of his mother and sister. I mean, the guy's had a crazy, fascinating life. And Andrew Callaghan does a fantastic job with the interview, so shout out to Channel 5 and Andrew Callaghan for that. But there's a lot of parts of this interview that are kind of going viral. Hunter talking about the difference between crack and cocaine, him going after Pod Save America and Nancy Pelosi and all these Democratic insiders. There's a lot of these moments that have gone viral, but there's this one part of the interview which really caught me that not a lot of people are talking about, where Hunter is kind of calling out the hypocrisy of the Trump family and of the MAGA movement in general. And I thought this was a really great clip because this is something that has driven me personally crazy for a long time. The fact that there's all these claims about Hunter being corrupt, the Biden crime family, Hunter using his dad's name and power to garner influence and make money and all this. And I'll just start by saying, I have no doubts that many of Hunter's business dealings, his board positions, probably came as a result of the political power of his father. I'm by no means saying, oh, Hunter and Joe are just pure beings who have never done anything wrong. That's not my point here. My point is the scale and level of corruption of the Trump family, both his immediate family, his son-in-law, Jared Kushner, and the people around him. The level of corruption and the blatant open scams that they have perpetrated, the way that they have leveraged their political power and the office of the presidency to enrich themselves, to empower themselves, to make more money, is so blatantly disgusting and horrific that it boggles my mind that they could ever make those accusations about somebody else without turning red in the face. And I think Hunter, for all his flaws, absolutely nails that here with the examples he brings up as well. So I just wanted to watch this clip because I feel like he's spot on, and it's something that, frankly, the Democrats are kind of idiots for a lot of reasons, but for not using this talking point more, this is something that they should hammer home as much as the MAGA movement hammered home the Hunter and Biden corruption stuff. Like, this should always be their response. What boggles my mind is that Hunter is the first person on a mainstream level that I've even really seen make this argument, from the Democratic establishment, even though, Hunter himself is obviously not really part of the Democratic establishment, but he's out of that world. His father is from that world. And he's the first person in this sphere, even though, again, he's kind of outside of it, that I've seen make this point. And I just think that Democrats are absolute buffoons for not having made this point a million times already and having run it to the ground. But I think what Hunter says here is absolutely correct.
I literally sat in the garage by virtue of my choice and my desire and painted for 3 years. And then they accused me of crimes for painting.
What do you mean?
Not that I couldn't sell my paint. That it was a clear conspiracy to launder money and to curry influence by selling acrylic on canvas abstract painting by Hunter Biden.
How do you prevent a purchaser paying too much so as to ingratiate themselves with the first family?
All of a sudden, the Iranians are going to change their nuclear weapons program. I mean, it's such fucking insane bullshit. Meanwhile...
And look, it probably is true that if Hunter wasn't Joe Biden's son, he might not have been able to sell his paintings for as much money as he did. I have no doubt about that. Whether it was pay-to-play corruption, whether the people who bought his paintings did so in order to curry favor with his father. You know, the evidence for that is a little thinner. I'm not saying it's not true, but you know, just the fact that he's selling them for more because of his name, I think that's self-evident. It being a pay-to-play corruption scheme, I think you need more evidence for that. I'm not saying it's not true, but I'm saying, like, I don't think there's enough evidence to claim that strongly. So I just want to say that about that first little piece there. But again, just in terms of the scale of the corruption, even if worst case scenario, Hunter selling his paintings was a pay-to-play corruption scheme, what the Trump family has done is like a million times worse. It makes that look like Hunter was earning pennies and nickels, like it blows it out of the water.
Wow. These motherfuckers?
With Trump Mobile, we're going to be introducing an entire package of products.
They're selling gold telephones and sneakers and $2 billion investments in golf courses and selling tickets to the White House for investment into their meme coin.
Overnight, President Trump returning to the White House after a black tie gala for the biggest buyers of the Trump crypto coin.
The Qataris give him a jet, and the Emiratis put $2 billion into their cryptocurrency, and the Saudis are going to build a tower. And I mean, by the way, that's just what we see. And I even hate mentioning my name in that, because either I am the biggest fucking moron on the face of the earth, or like, what the fuck are we talking about? Like, what is Fox News talking about? Anybody that mentions my name in crime family in the same, I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, okay, believe the worst case scenario that you believe about me. Believe that I was painting paintings, not because I've been a painter my whole life, not because it literally saved my life, not because it's really meaningful to me. Believe that I was painting paintings to somehow curry favor with whomever, okay? As compared, like, if you believe the worst possible thing that they've ever said about me, what they are openly doing, they're openly doing. And nobody's batting an eye. Don Jr. is opening a club called the Executive Club in Georgetown, in which it is promised that you will be able to rub shoulders at the cost of a $500,000 initiation fee.
The $500,000 membership fee would make it the most expensive private membership club in the country after Mar-a-Lago.
To join the club with people and decision makers in the cabinet of his father.
Now, the launch party on Saturday night included a who's who from the Trump cabinet, with Secretary of State Marco Rubio, Attorney General Pam Bondi, SEC Chair Paul Atkins, Dr. Oz, and a lot of others.
What is that other than literally the sale of influence? And by the way, that's just like a side thing for them.
Yeah, and like you mentioned, that's what we know about now.
Exactly, and that's the stuff that's out in the open.
Yeah, stuff you can Google at this moment, at this present moment.
I don't get it. I don't get how.
That's basically it, but I think he's 100% spot on there, and he doesn't even list everything. I don't think he mentioned when Trump was selling watches, when he was selling NFTs. Literally the biggest grifter, the biggest con man, the biggest scam artist in the world. Now, I was going to say to ever touch the US presidency, but he's so far above and beyond anybody else in that realm. Like, you have to just include him with all scammers. You know, I'm talking about the Theranos lady. I'm talking about Bernie Madoff. I'm talking about the greatest scammers in history. Trump and the Trump family, blow them out of the water. And what they do is they're just so utterly shameless about it. It's all out in the open. And this has been Trump's biggest contribution, for worse. I was going to say for better or for worse, but for worse, his biggest contribution to the culture, not just in the US, like, I'm Canadian, but it's perpetrating here as well and around the world, is this movement of shamelessness. This idea that if you're just totally shameless, if you just plow through any scandal or controversy or negative thing about you like a bull in a china shop, if you just don't give a damn what anyone thinks about you, you can just get away with whatever the hell you want. And obviously, there's different scales on which that's true. Like, if a poor person is doing that, they're probably going to go to jail eventually. But as a rich person doing that, if you got money and you're just totally shameless, you can really just get away with whatever the hell you want. But I think it's uniquely in the American context where Trump can do all of this stuff and not be called out by the media 24/7 for it. Because even though much of the rest of the world, much of the rest of the Western world even, is kind of devolving into these right-wing populist times, I still feel like in countries like Canada, the UK, France, Germany, like the Scandinavian countries, like all over Europe, if you were to have someone doing scams and grifts this shameless, like the meme coin stuff, taking the Qatari plane, that new club Don Jr. is opening up, like everything Hunter was listing and more, you would have nonstop coverage in the media about how corrupt, how just down-to-earth disgusting that these actions are. But the Trump family just does it all out in the open. They're so brazen, they don't give a damn, and nobody bats an eye. And then Hunter sells a couple paintings for tens or hundreds of thousands of dollars. Again, probably at least corrupt in the sense that if he was not named a Biden, he wouldn't be able to do that. But like on the scale, comparing it to what the Trump family does, it's pennies. Like I said, like Trump has made, I believe, over 40% of his known wealth since becoming president during his first and now second term. Like this guy, and even in between terms, like Hunter mentioned with the Saudi golf deals, the live deal of like playing on his course. I mean, Jared Kushner getting $2 billion from the Saudis. It makes anything that happened with the Bidens look like pennies, and yet the MAGA fan base, the loyalists, the cultists are still going to come out talking about Hunter Biden and Joe Biden as if they're the most corrupt people on earth, while their cult leader, their dear leader, is literally scamming them for NFTs, meme coins, gold shoes, gold phones made in China, by the way. How's that for America first? And it's pathetic. It's disgusting. And it was why this clip of the interview really jumped out at me, because it's something I wish that more Democrats, more mainstream liberal, left, and even centrist people would point out and scream at the rooftops like, hey, this guy is the biggest grifter, the biggest scam artist, the biggest con man to ever walk the face of the earth. And it's absolutely astonishing that it takes a 3-hour interview with Hunter Biden for somebody to finally make this point.